Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Establish the Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Today is play-in day number 3. Finally, after tonight, we'll have the playoffs set, which start tomorrow. And joining me to discuss the injury report around these two games are Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy on the NBA side and Mike Gallagher from Establish the Run. Justin, how are you on this fine Friday?
Good. Out in San Diego, doing a little trip up the coast, working my way up, LA next, and doing Big Sur, then working my way up to the Bay Area. So, it'll be, starting a big trip down here. Went to the Padres game last night, checked out Petco Park, and yeah, things are good.
Look at you smelling the roses, my man.
Love it, man.
Love to see it. Is this driving up the coast happening during NBA playoff weekend? Are you that much of a savage? What's going on here? How much roses are we smelling?
I love it.
I'm parking in LA for the weekend.
All right.
Games, not that much of a savage. I gotta catch these games,
Yeah. My favorite weekend of the year. As Gallagher reminded me last show that we did, I was like, I don't even have to spend time with family or anything. It's not like Christmas when it's one game at a time. And Gallagher's like, well, yeah, I'm half Jewish and half Christian, so I have Passover and Easter. And I was like,
yeah,
clearly my religious biases are showing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not anything, but my family was that way, so gotta do it the fam. Yeah, it was funny. I texted Fan last night, like he's in San Diego, and I was like, hey, you want to come on the show? And I was like, oh, you should check out the Braves and Padres, and he like literally texted me a picture back that he's at the game. So
Amazing. Mike, how are you on this fine Friday?
Good, man. Yeah, working on matchups for tomorrow, almost done. So yeah, looking good. Excited for a lot of basketball, a lot of really good basketball.
Yeah, we have been firing off some props today. We remarkably got off 9 props on the last 2 game slate. I think we've gone off 4 already today. I was a little bit concerned about volume, but we're just leaning into any sort of rotation change that we think is going to happen and just blasting off. So we'll see. It's going to lead to a lot of correlated days. We're either going to be really good or really bad on the same day. But let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about these 2 games. From an injury standpoint, the first game, Atlanta and Cleveland, has 2 questionable tags on it. One that was just cleared up a little bit by Shams, which was Jared Allen is expected to play tonight against the Hawks. I have all sorts of question marks about what role he's going to be playing, whether he's even going to be starting, what the minutes are going to look like. We've been kind of hedging on this and going like incrementally up during the course of the day, but it sounds like he's going to be able to play. Justin, what are your expectations for Jared Allen tonight?
My expectations are pretty low, just in general for his role. And you kind of look at what he's been doing. He went through
his last healthy game on screen, just to put that up.
Yeah. He went through shoot around this morning, but prior to this morning, he had not participated in any team drills. He was doing some on-court work with assistants in a really, really controlled setting. He was shooting with that left hand, but like avoiding using it on defense. I just have big question marks about what his role is going to be in his first game back. He's missed 19 games with that fractured finger. I don't think his conditioning is right. He's been doing some like sprinting work. Like I said, hasn't done really any team drills, any scrimmaging, any of that sort. So I'm pretty skeptical that he'll play much of a role. And I am, worried about the pain tolerance, the aggravation risk as well, how limited he'll be kind of nursing that left hand. So my expectations just generally are pretty low for his role in his first game back.
So do you think they'll bring him off the bench, and if at all?
That's a good question. I don't have a strong lean on that. I would, if I had a guess, I'd guess they bring him off the bench to kind of control his minutes a little bit. But like I said, I don't think the minutes will really be up there regardless.
Yeah,
I think
Go ahead,
I was going to say there was Chris Feeder wrote a story saying that like they were considering starting Rajon Rondo before they we're going to get Allen back, which tells me I think that they're probably planning to start Allen in limited minutes. But like you said, they are in a quote very, very controlled environment with his stuff. He wasn't taking contact. He has been doing some conditioning stuff for like a week and a half, so I think it's possible he gets to like 30, but probably in the mid 20s.
I kind of think that they're going to start him and match him for Capella as much as they can, just because he has a little bit more verticality to him in the pick and roll defense that you need with Capella, and a little bit of a bigger body to box out Capella. but I can't obviously they're a better team with Jared Allen, but a Jared Allen that's not super conditioned and might not be able to use his left hand very much. I don't know how much of a better team they are. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the only reason that you're really rushing this is one, because Jared probably really wants to play because it's an elimination game type situation. He's a big part of the franchise going forward. But two, because you'd want to match up some of his minutes with Capella as much as possible. Because that's the best thing that he can do is just be a body to be in the way of Capella. So that's kind of what we have right now, which is basically starting with a little bit of a minutes cap and sort of a minutes match to Capella, slightly under that. The thing that I'm having a hard time figuring out how low I should go is on usage and stuff, because if you just can't use the left hand very much at all, I'm wondering and this is such a feel thing, and I really don't do projections based on feel, so this is a hard one for me, but I'm willing to discount things slightly and regress things down. But the idea of a guy, if he can't use a left hand hook at all and is just able to go one side with a guy who doesn't really shoot the ball, just has post up, putbacks. I'm wondering how far down I should take his usage.
My projections on Allen are, I would say, very conservative, just because I don't think he's going to be that effective when he's out there. And they have been playing Kevin Love quite a bit. We saw that their last game, and to the point where Fedor was being asked about addressing rumors that Kevin Love might even start tonight. So they have some depth there, and I think we'll see Bickerstaff probably run a 9-man rotation again today with Lamar Stevens out. He didn't play in the second half, so just assume Jared Allen slides in there. I'm just generally very conservative on my Allen expectations in his first game back.
Yeah. And I do think that Allen's presence mostly takes from Jetty Osman and Lamar Stevens.
Right.
I think Okoro and Rondo are sharing minutes, and there's going to be push and pull with them. Okoro was horrific in that first play-in game and was benched largely for Rondo. So I think there's been
a good amount of Rondo and Garland together.
Yeah, exactly.
More than I was expecting.
Yep. Yeah. And you can do that against the Hawks. They'll play a lot of wingier lineups, so you can do that a little bit against the Hawks. But the problem is obviously on the defensive side, Trey is.
Luka just got ruled out officially for game 1 as expected.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I'm surprised that took so long, but the betting markets are expecting him not to play at all in the series.
Yeah. I think it's minimum 2 games, and then they'll reevaluate between the break and between 2 and 3.
Same page.
I thought it was closer to. I think minimum 2 is right. I think it's closer to. I think my expectation is game 4 is a potential target. I think 3 would even be optimistic.
I agree.
But we'll see on that front. Okay. The other question we'll tag on the other side of this is one that we've had for a month straight. Bogdanovic, he took a game off, wasn't questionable last game. He's back questionable. What are your thoughts here, Justin? He did see his minutes cut down last game a little bit, but it was mostly due to blowout.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been on the show before where you've asked me when Bogdan's gotten added day of, and Gallagher was obviously it's not obviously a great sign, but he always plays through these Q tags. I think he plays more through Q tags more than anybody outside of LeBron James, right? So he went through morning shoot around. McMillan said he should be okay. He's popped up on the injury report 12 times out of the last 37 games, and he's missed only 1 game. So, this is a high-stakes game. He's not missing this game. So, would fully expect him to go. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go. And what I am interested a little bit in this Hawks rotation is we maybe saw some hints from McMillan of an 8-man rotation. Yeah. Gallinari picked up his second foul 25 seconds into that second stint, which, caused him to sub in Luwawa Cabarro instead. So I'm interested to see if he actually goes back to an 8-man rotation again, or he goes 9 deep and TLC is still kind of seeing some nominal minutes. That's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on.
And the interesting thing there was, even though TLC did end up coming in for Gallinari and spell those minutes, they actually didn't bump Herter or Hunter a ton more from that, which they could have. That was the direction that they could have gone. It seemed like Gallinari was actually on pace to play a lot, like 34, 35. So that was the thing that was interesting to me from that, because we saw the same thing. We were all noting in Slack when Gallo came back as the sub. We were like, oh, they're going 8-man. And then Gallo had 2 quick fouls, subbed back out, and TLC was in, and we're like, oh, interesting. But But I thought, like, especially with how well Herter was playing early in that game, it was surprising to me that he didn't get really extended in that one. And then Bogdanovic played 15 first half minutes, but just lost his last rotation due to blowout stuff. So I think they were on pace, if I remember right. I think it was like 16, 17 first half minutes for Herter Hunter and 15 for Bogdan. So they were on pace for 33, 34 type thing, not the 36, 37, 38 that I would have expected from an 8-man rotation.
I'll add that this is a new injury, though. This isn't the same knee thing he's been listed with. He did tweak his ankle, was hobbling around for a little bit. Ankles can swell up, so I'll be the Bogdan doubter again here. But no, I think he plays for sure because after he was limping for limping for 30 seconds, he looked fine. So should be good.
Yeah. So circle back on what Dink was saying. 17 first half minutes, a little under 17 first half minutes for DeAndre Hunter, a little under 17 first half minutes for Kevin Herter. Trey played 19, Bogdan played 15, Gallinari played 13 and a half, but that was due to foul trouble.
Yeah, I think Gallo was going to be on that 17 range, which is interesting. Like, he's one of the toughest guys for me to project because the range gets really wide. In some games he does nothing, and in other games he does a lot. But it's an interesting matchup, obviously. Like, his height is a little bit more important in this matchup than normally. Just because basically, especially Gallinari is their best guy to defend Kevin Love. And by that, I mean just have length to challenge shots at the 3-point line. Because Gallinari there's no concerns about Kevin Love driving past you. So it's just stay attached and contest at the 3-point line. And Gallinari is their best option to do that. So he could end up playing an awful lot in this game.
Yeah, that substitution pattern was aggressive. Like, he played the first 5 minutes, subbed out, then came in with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Really aggressive substitution pattern.
Yeah. Okay, the other game, Clippers and New Orleans. There's nothing on the New Orleans injury side to talk through. The Clippers one, obviously, the big news, Luke Kennard is questionable, and he was ruled out last game, unable to play. And with the smaller news that Paul George is in health and safety protocols and unable to play tonight, the question is, if Kennard is available, does he get into the rotation, him and Amir Coffey, or do they just go super tight in the absence of Paul George? What are your thoughts, Gallagher?
So I think the first thing for me is I think Kennard probably gets in if he can go. But secondly, I think Terrence Mann's a guy that could really benefit here. We've seen in instances when Paul George misses time. It took a while, like we saw before they put Amir Coffey in there. Mann was playing basically Paul George's role in the rotation. And we've seen over the years against the Blazers and in the matchup earlier this year, they used Terrence Mann a lot on CJ McCollum. So I think given the matchup, I think there's a very good chance Terrence Mann starts in Paul George's spot. Obviously, they're going to need offense. We'll see if they play more Norm Powell. Norm played 34 minutes in the start earlier when they sat out Paul after his return. So I expect those two guys to pick up some pretty good minutes. And we'll see what's up with the front court guys because Batum was pretty useful against Cat while Morris was getting wrecked by Anthony Edwards. So we'll see if Lou wants to tweak that. Obviously, Zubach has been destroyed by Valanciunas this year. I think it's 33 points and 15 rebounds per 36 and good volume. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I expect a lot of Mann, a lot of Norm Powell, a lot of Reggie Jackson. We've seen his ball handling really go down with Paul George, but now that Paul George out of the picture, should be a lot of Reggie.
Yeah, a lot to dive into here. So so I want to hit on 5 different things and get your thoughts on them. So first of all, Norm Powell's minutes. So he's played 23, 22, 27 in his first 3 games back. 30, 32, a reasonable expectation here. What are we expecting for Norm Powell?
Yeah, I think we're at 33, right?
We're at 34. We're at 34. So
34.
I did the same dance that you're doing, Justin, and I just kept going higher and higher, essentially.
Yeah.
So I started out with Paul George in at 28 and a half.
Yeah.
Thinking he'll continue to get bumped a little bit. Then with PG out, I moved to 32. And then Gallagher noted that in a start, he had gotten to 34 previously. Obviously, it was pre-injury and everything like that. But just having seen the willingness and the tightness that they're willing to play rotations and knowing that they just don't have a lot of ways to create offense, I just kept going higher. And then I saw we were light him in the props markets in a couple different areas. And that encouraged me to go even higher. I do respect, as much as we like to, bet props and different things, I do respect the market when I'm way off and stuff. And 34 minutes got us to a closer level with like a normal usage rate that's not like a super concentrated usage.
This was post news, I'm assuming, when
post news,
because I think that's a tendency of the market to just kind of overreact a little bit on Norm and just betting Norm, betting Reggie, and so I think being under, like a little under, is probably right.
So we were way under. Now we're a little under, and and that's where I was kind of aiming to be. This is with like a 28-29 usage rate, which is what he's done with the Clippers in like a short period of time, but that's mostly been off the bench. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, I think he's going to be in the range of 30 to 38 is kind of where I think. So like I came up with 33, 34 as like my target.
Yeah. I feel a little better about it too, knowing that Kennard is banged up and probably limited. He got some shots up after shoot around today. And I think I would have leaned him not playing if this PG news didn't come out. And I think he might lean towards playing, but more limited minutes now. We'll kind of see on that. Haven't really gotten much of an update on him. But yeah, so a couple other things I want to touch on too.
Let me just put a bone Kennard real quick. So you got knee in the hamstring. So it's not a hamstring strain. So that's a little bit less concerning.
Right. But like the fact that he didn't even travel, like he got ruled out early, like last game, was a little concerning too. But yeah, okay. So I think actually the biggest question here that maybe people aren't talking enough about is, who does Herb Jones guard? Does he guard Jackson, or does he guard Norm Powell? I actually was a little surprised like how similar they are. They're, Reggie's 6'2", 210, Norm 6'3", 215. So just something like size and height, they're about the same. That obviously a huge difference getting the Herb Jones assignment versus the CJ McCollum assignment. So maybe more of a question for Gallagher, since he's the matchups guru. Are we expecting Herb more on Norm or Herb more on Reggie?
I'd be pretty shocked if he wasn't on Reggie.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they usually put him on ball. Even back to the Josh Hart days, they always put him on ball handlers. Was their first lead, unless it's like a big gap. Which
they could adjust the offense on for sure. And just like, but I think Herb will float to whoever is just initiating a lot.
Yeah.
That being said, this is the other reason that I feel very confident that Norm's starting, because I think even though they've been pulling him off the bench and you could slide like Terrence Mann in that starting lineup, I think they need to have multiple points of attack in that first unit. Otherwise, they're really going to struggle scoring.
They struggled scoring last game too with PG for huge stretches of that game.
With PG when they shot 45% from three.
Exactly. And when PG was going crazy.
So I think Norm moves in the starting lineup. I think they need more playmaking. And this is the other thing where Terrence Mann, there's a scenario where I think both Norm Powell and Terrence Mann slide in the starting lineup. And Batum is the odd man out and kicked out, because they're going to need to generate as much offense as they can. Batum, it's interesting. He's a guy that if you look at the sample with and without Paul George this season, his numbers, his minutes are lower in games without Paul George than games with Paul George. And the reason for that is, with Paul George, they have all the offensive creation that they could need. They just need somebody to keep moving the ball around the perimeter and hit open shots, do all the little things. When Paul George isn't there, they need multiple points of attack. And that's when they need to play Terrence Mann more. They need to play Morris's offense more. They need to play Norm Powell or whoever they've had in the past, Luke Kennard, these types of guys. So Batum, I think, normally you'd think like, okay, Paul George is a wing. Batum can maybe sometimes play the wing minutes. His minutes would go up when you take out 40 Paul George minutes. I don't think they necessarily go up. I think they maybe stay the same. I think all the other guys benefit here. Now, this does depend on if Luke Kennard plays or not. But I think, we took a Batum under and we took a Norm Powell under. So we are thinking that Kennard's going to play. We are a little bit risky there in the sense that if they play like a 7-man rotation, we're going to look bad on this. But I think they're going to play Kennard or Coffey. I think they're going to stick 8. I don't.
And they still have Robert Covington as a key piece too. So I don't think we're like dead. It's not like like the OKC situation where they play like 6 guys all the minutes. They're gonna have
it's an elimination game, so you see weird stuff. But I think they're gonna play
8. Okay, so one other thing. So Zubach, I want to touch on him too. 31 and a half minutes, got all the way up last game. Hardenstein only played 7. This been kind of this push and pull with them all season, where Hardenstein's kind of cut into his minutes. Zubach plus 3% usage rate differential without PG and Bledsoe in full games. I think actually leads all Clippers players in terms of usage rate differential there. What do we think of Zubach in this matchup today? We mentioned that he gets destroyed defensively, but what about him as a play?
So we went back and forth on his minutes quite a bit as well. We landed at 28.
Okay.
Which I think is representative of the upside and the downside. I think the upside is to that like 32, 33 mark that we saw. I think the downside is to like 20, 22. The problem is they have fewer ways to really go small in this matchup without completely, just like they will get killed on the offensive boards.
Yep.
There's teams that can take advantage of you going small and teams that can't. And like New Orleans can, because Joe Val will destroy other guys in the post. This isn't like a Jazz situation with Rudy where they won't give him the ball in the post like that. They will just keep feeding Jonas over and over again. And then it would be up to the Clips 3-point shooting. So the last time these two teams played, they got 48 full center minutes from Zubach and Hartenstein. Yep. So I think Hartenstein's minutes are coming up this game. I don't know that they're coming up to the 20s he was playing towards the end of the season. I mentioned many times I thought that was a little fluky as well, just in the sense that he'd play like 7 or 8 first half minutes and then he'd run the whole fourth quarter. So we've got him like teens, and we have a few small ball center minutes mixed in, but I think it's possible that they go 48 true center minutes in this matchup.
Yeah, and I'll add too, just the lack of shooting from their bigs, right? Obviously, they've been going Larry Nance. He doesn't shoot threes. Valanciunas shoots them on occasion when he's wide open. So you don't necessarily need to play that small. When you're going small, you're basically just saying we're switching everything on defense. So now you don't need to do that. So, playing hard. And then, we upped Hartenstein a little bit just because, like, we mentioned 33 and 16 per 36 for Valanciunas, and you want another big body on him. Like, you don't want to go small against Valanciunas. So that's kind of what we were thinking there.
Yeah, I will agree though with Gallagher that I think everybody's obviously focused on Reggie Jackson with that assist rate bump without PG, and then Norm having to play more and take on more usage. But I think Terrence Mann sneakily might be the biggest beneficiary here that no one's really talking about. So
100%.
You look at the games that PG has missed and go back, and Terrence Mann has benefited in a big way, and I think they need him in this spot too. So that's
really
a little under the radar.
Really hoping that Terrence Mann is not starting. The cat will be out of the bag if Terrence Mann starts, but I think if he doesn't start, I think there's still a path. Like we did this with we bet Primo unders in a big way, and I said I thought, look, I think it's like 40% chance he doesn't start, but if he does start, I think he could play under 15 minutes still. And I think I don't think Batum's playing under 15 minutes, but I think there's a chance that Batum could start and still not play enough.
I mean, they don't need him. He's a good defender on bigs. We saw what they did with Cat. They put him on. They actually put him on Ingram in the last game. I just don't think that makes sense. And that's when they didn't have Norman Powell. So I think it makes way more sense to go smaller in general. Yeah. Let Norm maybe guard Ingram a little bit, Herb guarding Reggie Jackson and all that, and kind of both ways. They'll kind of guard each other. But it makes so much sense to go small to me.
And with Ty Lue, they usually do the opposite. If they play a big team, they usually go small. If they play a small team, they usually go big. The difference is with New Orleans is you can't go small at the center spot. I don't think it can work because
that's why I feel good about Zoo's minutes floor in this spot.
Yeah.
You just can't get away with going with the small center in this.
The challenge is obviously Zoo staying out of foul trouble. That'll be the big challenge.
Right.
Which is why I wasn't willing to go 30, because I just like the downside on him getting into foul trouble is big. But I think this is a bounce back spot for Hartenstein's minutes for sure. I think last game was kind of the nut low situation for his minutes.
I'll add one more thing. Like I'm reading between the lines too much probably, but there was like a quote from Lou talking about Batum. It seemed like very past tensey to me with how he's describing his role in that Wolves game. So I don't know. He may have been getting booted like even before this news came.
Yeah, we will see. Justin, did we hit all your questions?
I think we did. Yeah. My biggest one was that Herb Jones. Obviously, so much respect for him. He showed off what he can do, and he's just an absolute menace. Fantastic.
All right, I think that'll do it for the decision of.
Well, let's mention Ingram really quick. Because he got a 10-minute stint, right? I was dead wrong. He was not limited at all. Had fouls, so
10 minutes in, checked in at the 8-minute mark of the second quarter, so it was on pace for 16 first half minute or 18 first half minutes. Excuse me.
Yep.
My math is very good.
He plays a lot of full first quarters.
Yep.
He's going to be firing in a big way. So that's my L I will have to sit on for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he's not on the injury report this time. So we could have avoided it, but you are a man of honor. I appreciate it. All right. On that note, we'll be getting out of here. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back for Monday at 2:00 with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I want to thank Justin Fan for piping in on these Fridays. Hope the roses smell great out on the coast of California, and hope the playoff basketball this weekend is just as great. Mike Gallagher, have a great weekend as well. To you out there, enjoy the hoops. If you're an Established Run NBA premium subscriber, join us at 5:30 behind the paywall today, and join us for special editions, 11 o'clock tomorrow and Sunday, breaking down the 4-game slates behind the paywall over at establishthерun.com. All right, enjoy the NBA games. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Take care.